What's up guys, I'm CandidCrandell and today I'm going to be talking about Pretty Little Liars Season 5 Episode 2, Whirly Girly. The girls get back to Rosewood, except Allie is a little hesitant to get off the bus. Emily tells her that she doesn't have to run anymore. Allie wants to go to her house to speak to her mother before going to the police and telling them anything. I think part of the reason that she's doing this might be because she doesn't want to tell the police that her mom buried her alive until she has some answers about that. But the girls end up convincing Allie that it is extremely important that she go to the police before going home. Finally, the girls are being a little smart about something and being like, no, we need to tell the cops this because this is important. Allie agrees to go to the police station and there's this great shot of all 5 girls crossing the street in a line and it was just particularly creepy. Allie enters the police station and approaches Holbrook. She doesn't seem to know who he is. She's like, I think you've been looking for me. And he's like, I know who you are. I'm glad you're with your friends. Welcome home. Holbrook asks her to explain what happened the night that she disappeared. Allie responds that she didn't disappear. She was kidnapped and held hostage for 2 years. Allie, no. No, that is so typical Alison De Laurentiis, I cannot even. Leave it to Alison De Laurentiis to be like, I know I ran away because I was being a terrible person to people, and if I just came back and was like, I ran away, no one would really have any sympathy for me, so what could I do? Let's pretend that I was kidnapped and held hostage and make this huge story out of it, and I'll be famous and everyone will pity me and love me again. Holbrook takes the girls and Alison into an interview room and shows Allie the picture of her and the girls from Halloween. Alright, so this is an older picture, so tonight was not your first time back in Rosewood. Allie explains that Halloween was the night that she escaped her captor, that she jumped out of the car and ran into the woods, was able to find the girls, and she asked the girls to hide her. She was worried about coming to the police or to her family because she was afraid that if she was out in the open, it would be easy for the captor to find her again. I'm sorry, you got kidnapped and you said that like your friends saved your life, but in all actuality they didn't rescue you from Philly. Why was Spencer's car in Philly? This is just not a well thought out lie at all. Come on, Allie, you're supposed to be the queen of lying. Mr. De Laurentiis is back in Rosewood and seems very happy to see Alison. Side note, do you have an apology for Hannah, Mr. De Laurentiis? Remember when you were like unbelievably mean to her when she said that she thought your daughter was still alive and then it turned out that your daughter actually was alive? Just like a quick sorry, that'd be nice. Peter Hastings and Melissa are in Philly picking up Spencer's car because it got impounded. I'm interested to see if they're actually in Philly. I think that because Melissa is keeping some secret that Mr. Hastings knows about, that wherever they are, it probably has something to do with that secret more than Spencer's car. I think the car was just a cover story. Spencer says Melissa's back from London and Mrs. Hastings says yes, but don't expect any souvenirs. All she brought back was attitude and secrets. Even Melissa's own mother is starting to have some questions about her daughter and what the heck she's been up to. Mike Montgomery is back. He's come to ask Aria about Allie and if she's back and if it's true. And he also asks if Mr. Fitz is going to be okay. Time out. How does Mike know about that? He's done some sketchy things in the past and I am starting to add them up and it's looking like it might equal A, or A team at the very least. Jason De Laurentiis is also back in Rosewood, interesting timing, and he's outside cleaning the back seat of his car. I'm curious as to why Jason felt the urgent need to clean his car because there was probably something in there that he didn't want anyone to see. Spencer is extremely frustrated with Allie and how she lied at the police station. We were done with A, we were ready to come clean and have it all be over, and instead Alison has decided to lie again and we're just caught up in her whirly girly ride. I totally agree with Spencer. I think that Allie is manipulating them and I don't think she's telling them the whole story. I get that she's probably been through an ordeal, but she's done some things that are extremely messed up and she needs to answer for them. Emily and Spencer go over to Allie's house and Allie throws down a roll of toilet paper with a cell phone inside. The girls pull out the cell phone and read the text and it says, "The truth will bury you in a New York minute." The text is not signed, so at this point they're like, I thought we killed A, what is happening with this text? You killed one person, and we all know that Allie pissed off numerous people. You think that by killing one that it's done? That was just naive of you. Did Allie see that text message and assume that someone knew what happened to Shauna and lied to protect Aria? Somehow I don't think so. I think she probably lied for another reason, and that she's going to say that she did it to protect Aria, to manipulate Aria into thinking that she's got her back when she really doesn't. Allie is back in her room and looking around at everything, and it's a very interesting scene. She's looking at a doll when her dad comes in. He's got a police barricade put up at the end of the street to make her feel safe. Offers to let Alison sleep downstairs in case she doesn't want to be sleeping alone, and she's like, no, I'd really like to sleep in my own bed. I've been dreaming about this moment for 2 years. Mr. De Laurentiis says to Alison, I promise I will do everything I can to help you forget. This line could be taken as just a straightforward dad protecting his daughter thing. I, however, am not so sure. Maybe he was the one that hit her over the head with a rock. It was just an interesting choice of words that he was going to do everything he could to help her forget. Mr. De Laurentiis tells Alison about how he and her mother decided to get a divorce, and she says that the girls told her. But after he leaves the room, she starts to cry. I'm wondering if Allie didn't necessarily know that her parents had gotten a divorce. Aria keeps having nightmares about killing Shauna. It's really affecting her that she has taken someone's life, and rightfully so. In Aria's nightmare, she hears Shauna playing the violin. Eventually, the violin music is what wakes Aria up. She's been hearing it in her dream, but it's also happening in real life, and where is it coming from? Jason watching Alison sleep? Ugh, so creepy. They're making Jason look extra sketchy right now, which might very well mean that he didn't do anything. Usually the person that looks the sketchiest is not the person who is. It's like that sleight of hand thing that they did with the girl in the box. They make us look one way at one thing, and then we miss what's happening for real. Kenneth De Laurentiis comes over to Mrs. Marin to ask her for her help in finding Jessica. She changed the password on her business email, and he wants to know if Ashley could go through it for him. Ashley asks Kenneth if perhaps Jason knows where Mrs. De Laurentiis is. Mr. De Laurentiis kind of brushes that off and says that Jason's not going to be any help. His mind must be too messed up from all the drugs he did to even act like a normal human, because he hasn't shed a tear for his sister since she came home. That's a little sketchy to me too, especially for someone who was willing to offer a $50,000 reward for answers about where Alison was. You would think that he would be a little bit more excited to see her if he hadn't had anything to do with her going away, don't you? Alison decides to come out on her front porch, and Jason tells her she needs to go back inside because there's media. Allie says, I'm not twerking through town, I just want to sit on my front porch. Allie asks Jason why he hasn't asked her very many questions. He thought that maybe she needed some time or some space. I think it's because he already knows the answers to a lot of the questions, potentially, and he doesn't need to ask them. A woman from the animal shelter comes to the De Laurentiis house with a dog named Pepe that supposedly Mrs. De Laurentiis said she wanted to adopt. If the dog wasn't adopted by Mrs. De Laurentiis, then it was kind of the end of the line for him and he was going to be euthanized. Jason wants the woman to take the dog back, and Alison says that she will keep Pepe. It might actually be helpful for Alison to have a dog because maybe it'll make her feel a little bit more safe. Mike approaches Mona to talk to her about Alison being back and how crazy it is, and Mona's like, I know, I can't believe she was held captive for 2 years and that this psycho took her, and we all just need bodyguards and it's just not safe out here. I got whistles. That's so sketchy because we all know that Mona knows that Allie wasn't kidnapped. According to Allie's version of the story, Mona saw Alison the night she disappeared. For whatever reason, she seems to be supportive of this story. Mike tells Mona that he misses her. Aww. I actually didn't hate Mike and Mona together. I think it's kind of weird because I don't fully trust Mona, but I also kind of don't fully trust Mike. So if they're both on the A team, at least we know that the A team won't be trying to ruin their relationship. The girls truly think that A is dead, that Shauna was Big A. And it's so strange to me that they think that after how many times they've been wrong in the past. You would think that they'd be like, hold on a minute, there were a bunch of people in that park. We need to talk about that and who all those people potentially were and what that means, because there's not just one. That's like the big issue. It's a whole group of people. Spencer thinks that perhaps Jenna was the one to send Allie the truth will bury you in a New York Minute text. Spencer digs through the De Laurentiis trash and finds a bag from a store in New York City on Bleecker Street. It looks like it was something that was cleaned out of the back of Jason's car. Big question is, what was Jason doing in New York, and was he there the night that Allie came back? If so, perhaps he was one of the hooded figures in the park. Aria is still really struggling with killing Shauna. She's listening to her iPod and all of a sudden the violin music that she heard the other night comes on. Woo, creepy. Mike was the one to borrow Aria's iPod. He said that he needed to put some music together for a social studies project. Was that violin music coming from his room? If it was he really working on a social studies project or was he doing something else? Allie thinks her dad knows that Peter Hastings is actually Jason's father and not him. He would want to keep that as quiet as possible because I think the De Laurentiis family has had enough scandal for a lifetime. Toby is back from London, yay, Spoby reunion. Apparently Melissa lied about seeing Toby in London. Surprise, surprise. Toby says that he actually went to Melissa's place in London and Ren opened the door and said that Melissa was not in London anymore. Interesting. Toby points out that Mrs. Hastings could just call Ren. Call Ren? I'd rather stick a knife in the toaster. Yeah, Mrs. Hastings is not a big Ren Kingston fan. Toby says that he went to London with the intent of getting Spencer answers from Melissa. Aria is out at the shack in the woods trying to make it look like Allie had been staying there for a month, especially after that was the story that they told the cops. She wants to make it look like Allie was out there for real. Emily finds her out there and they have a really nice talk. We all know Emily killed Nate a couple seasons ago in self-defense. Emily tells Aria that she understands how she feels, but at the same time Aria has to understand that in that moment it was either the girls or Shauna. Aria was simply defending herself and her friends. There was going to be a body in that theater at the end of the night, if not more than one. Aria made the decision to just make it Shauna, but had she not, there could have been 5 bodies in there. It doesn't really matter to her that she killed someone in self-defense. She's concerned about the fact that she killed someone. That person is never going to get a chance to recover or apologize or even graduate from high school because she ended their life. Hannah finds an email from Mrs. De Laurentiis to an unspecified recipient that says simply, "I can't protect you anymore." It's a draft from the night that she went missing and it was never sent. Who is she saying that she can't protect anymore? We get an excellent Spoby makeout sesh in this episode and I was very happy about that. I love Spencer and Toby together. No matter how far apart they go, they always come back to each other. Jason tells Mr. De Laurentiis that he needs to drop something off for a friend in Philly. Mr. De Laurentiis thinks that Jason knows where Mrs. De Laurentiis is and that he's helping her hide. Aria comes home and Mona is over having dinner with Mike. Oh joy, just who Aria wants to see. Mona gives Aria one of her special safety whistles and says that they need to use what happened to Alison as a wake-up call because nobody's safe. Aria asks Mona if that's a threat. I think that she thinks that Mona might be on to her about the whole Shauna thing. Mona asks how Mr. Fitz is doing and if he'll make a full recovery. Emily and Hannah are out in the car and Jason comes up to them and threatens them and says that they need to stay out of business that isn't theirs. Emily tells Hannah to follow Jason. You follow him, I have to change my underwear. Hannah and Emily follow Jason to a building that has several buzzers on it. The girls try to push the buzzer that he pushed to see if Mrs. De Laurentiis answers when a homeless man comes up and scares them off from the building. Allie goes to the mausoleum to visit her remains to say goodbye to the girl that it was made for. Mona follows Allie there. Allie explains that the girl who the tomb was made for doesn't exist anymore. I can't be that person anymore, Mona. I know you hated me. You wanted me to go to hell. Going there was easy. Coming back is what's hard. You and me, we understand each other. I need you, Mona, as a friend. Mona informs Allie that she was the one who sent "The truth will bear you" in a New York Minute text. I guess I should have signed my name because I don't have to hide anymore. You do. You're gonna wish you stayed dead. Mona, going crazy. While the girls are waiting at Spencer's house, Spencer goes over to Allie's house to try and find her and instead finds Jason sitting in the dark in the living room. Spencer point blank asks him if he was in New York the night that Allie came back. What is it that you think I did? Do you think I'm the one who kidnapped her? Where'd that theory come from? My father? Because he's probably down at the police station sharing that theory right now. And without my mom around, who's going to stop him? Jason seems to feel like Mr. De Laurentiis has it out for him and thinks that he was the one who kidnapped Alison. It's interesting that Jason says that if his mom isn't there, who's going to stop him? Was Kenneth De Laurentiis the one who killed Mrs. De Laurentiis? I know it's a long shot, but what if Mr. De Laurentiis was the one who hit Alison over the head with the rock and she saw it? Wouldn't she protect her husband? Now that he has filed for a divorce, maybe she's not willing to keep his secret anymore. Pepe the dog finds Mrs. D's body buried in the Hastings backyard. Ugh. I'm really glad that they have found Mrs. De Laurentiis' body. I did not want her to be sitting there for the whole season. The fact that it was in the Hastings backyard is strange to me, but I also think that that maybe eliminates Peter and Melissa as suspects, because neither of them would be stupid enough to bury Mrs. De Laurentiis in their own backyard. It could be someone trying to make it look like the Hastings buried Mrs. De Laurentiis in their backyard. I also think it's significant because it seems like it's close to the same area where Alison was buried alive by her own mother. Coincidence? Probably not. Jason seems genuinely surprised when he sees his mother's body. Perhaps we can cross Jason off our list of possible Mrs. De Laurentiis killing suspects, because it seems like from everything he's been saying that he's really on his mom's side. But his surprise would lead me to believe that I don't think he's the one who killed her, unless he was just surprised that the dog dug her up. Alison is standing in her hoodie amongst the crowd. She looks oddly calm for being at the scene of her mother's body being found. She's not crying on anyone like the other girls are. It looks like it's a bittersweet moment for her. Allie never got any of the answers from her mom about why she buried her. So at this point, all she can think about is like, well, my last memory of my mom is her trying to bury me. But also, who knows if that's even what happened. It could be Allie making that up too. Mr. De Laurentiis also doesn't look too shaken up about having his ex-wife found in the backyard. Like, even if you're getting a divorce from someone, if you find their body, you should probably have a reaction to that. The thing that is so messed up about everything that is going on in this show is that whoever is tormenting these girls obviously knows them. It's someone that they've met. It has to be, because they know so many things about them. It's not that we have to have this fear of strangers, but it's the people that you know, and do you really know them? Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this week's episode and any theories that you have. I would love to discuss them with you. If you don't already, you can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Blogspot, and Instagram, username CandidCrandell. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again on Tuesday. Bye!